So what are you working on at the moment?
So I have a very much a mission-focused business called Good Grub, where we're taking food waste, turning this into protein and fertiliser, and at the same time reducing emissions. I recognise as a mum, I'm deeply connected to the environment, and I want to make sure that my kids have the same sort of exposure to a beautiful planet that I've been allowed.
If you were talking to someone who was starting out, what is some advice?
Just do it. Just give it a go. If you don't try and jump on the train's going to go past. It's going to leave you, right? You'll always be a success because you've tried, in my eyes. Maybe it doesn't work out. Well, so what? You've had an amazing experience. If you learned something about yourself, don't die wondering.
Thank you for coming on.
You're very welcome. Thanks for having me.
Your husband spoke very highly of you, so you'll be glad to know that.
Oh,
and then
that's nice.
we were talking and he was mentioning a bit of your story. And I was
Yeah.
like, oh my gosh, we need to have Jessie on the podcast so that we could hear her story. Because you sold a company to the Rank Group.
Yes.
And I have a good friend at the Rank Group, so I was like, oh,
nice.
that's kind of fun. But then obviously everything you're doing now is interesting, so
Yeah.
I think it's pretty cool to have you on, so thanks for coming.
Oh, thanks for having me. Great, interesting topic to be involved with.
Totally. And so transient
Yes.
in nature.
Yes.
So what are you working on at the moment to build your wealth?
So, well, it's more than building wealth. It's helping the planet, actually.
What a cool thing.
So I have a very much a mission-focused business called Good Grub,
Mm-hmm.
where we're taking food waste and we're turning this into protein and fertiliser, and at the same time reducing emissions. I recognise as a mum that I'm deeply connected to the environment, and I want to make sure that my kids have the same sort of exposure to a beautiful planet that I've been allowed. So I'm really, really focused on that, and the business skills that I've picked up along the way from my previous business, which was I Love Pies, have set me in good stance to approach this with experience, and I'm so excited about it. It feels like having a mission and actually being active in helping address some climate change issues is just the best thing ever. I've just had the best time.
You can see
creating
that
this business.
you're glowing though from it, right? It's obviously something you're incredibly passionate about.
I think people talk about flow states,
Yes.
and as soon as I kind of started thinking about this as an opportunity, it's like the light came on for me, and it has actually translated into the way that business has been working for me, where doors just keep on opening, and it doesn't feel like I'm pushing against anything. I'm just being surrounded by amazing people, connections, and opportunities keep on coming. So,
Have you read Stealing Fire?
no.
Stealing Fire is about getting into flow
Flow
state
state, nice.
through different methods.
Yeah.
It's quite cool.
Oh, nice.
And it talks about how kind of, from how traditional churches and religions get you into flow state to other methods of getting into flow state. It's quite a cool thing. It's called Stealing Fire. It's about
nice.
stealing fire.
Yeah.
Flow state's a fun one.
Yeah.
If you can get there, it's a beautiful thing.
It's been really joyful, so I hope the joy keeps on going.
Well, it's going to be hard, right?
Yeah, totally. That's the thing for me.
How long have you been working on it?
Coming up to 3 years.
Oh, cool.
Yeah,
so you've actually been in the trenches for a while on it.
Yeah, but we've kind of been in stealth mode, I suppose, and it's only been sort of in the last sort of 2 or 3 months where we've started talking about it publicly.
Totally.
And that felt quite sort of like, oh, here we go.
It's real now, if it wasn't before.
We've had such an amazing response. I think everyone's really hungry for tech-led solutions to helping our environment, and I'm the right person at the right time to be doing this,
Right.
and which is being kind of reflected back to me from the response that we're having to this business, which is really cool. As I embark on my major capital raise.
Yes, good
I'm
timing.
glad that's happening.
So, how would you define wealth then?
Yeah, sure. It's such an interesting question. I have been thinking about it. For me, wealth kind of is two things. I think wealth is about giving you choices, and choices to where you put your energy and your time. And then wealth also is a deeper layer for me, which is about your internal wealth, how you frame things in your mind. So, I've met people who financially, on paper, very wealthy, and because maybe their framing in their mind isn't that they feel wealthy, they're striving for that next money or whatever, they're not living in the present, they're not very joyful, they're not seeing what they've got right in front of them. And so if I think about my own experience, some of the things that have nothing to do with money give me the biggest joy. Being in nature, spending time with my family and friends, being kind to people, all these, more intangible things. So that's that's the two-sidedness for wealth that I have.
Yes.
So how have you gone about building your internal wealth?
Great question. I think I was so, in my first business, which was I Love Pies, I was so sort of like, I had young children, there was so much happening and I was learning so much that I was so kind of busy, focusing on building it, that I think I wasn't aware of kind of being more present. And I recognised that I was feeling a bit burnt out about things. And so I recognised that I needed to change something. I wasn't very happy.
Okay.
So, I was very stressed, it affects everything in your life, sleeping, your relationship with children. So I thought there has to be, I'm not doing this, on paper everything looks really wonderful, we've got a successful business, got a lovely family and all these things, but I wasn't feeling that great in myself. So I decided I'd heard about mindfulness.
Yep.
So I did a mindfulness course and it really changed my life because I realised that I hadn't, or I was just a treadmill in my mind, and I wasn't thinking about being in the moment, being present. And it was a deep shock to know that I hadn't really been present for a long time. And I really started leaning into thinking about what it was that truly I loved about life. And actually, I went back to things like surfing and painting and yoga and stillness and being in nature and just practicing mindfulness, being present. As simple as, one of the techniques is like brushing your teeth in the shower and actually, not in the shower, but brushing your teeth and going, what is that sensation? We're so often we're in our mind, we're not actually just right here, right now.
I do like brushing my teeth in the shower.
Yeah.
We all have our quirks.
Yeah. Totally.
Multitasking.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So that was very much a game changer for me on my personal journey with reconnecting with who I am as a person.
Okay.
And was that like during the journey of I Love Pies?
Yeah, definitely.
Like halfway through or something?
Yeah, halfway through. And it was when I started kind of recognising that it wasn't about the destination so much. Yeah. The journey is really important. That's when things started to get more in balance in my life. Totally. It wasn't all about work. I made sure I carved out space for myself, my children, my partner, exercise, sleep. You actually have to kind of like be quite disciplined with. Yeah. Otherwise, you can kind of like, I describe it as like a boat. There's lots of different chambers in your boat, and you equally need to spend your energy in those different chambers. If you say over-index in kind of just work, well, that chamber can get very dense and heavy and might sink your boat. If you kind of allow your different chambers in your kind of hull of your boat to be more evenly spaced, that gives you more balance. And I really kind of worked on sort of, exercise important, sleep, good food, time for friends, time just by myself, rather than just always thinking work, because what kind of a life is that? I was really unbalanced before I started thinking about my internal narrative with how I talk to myself and what I do to feel myself as a person and my life, Bringing back some joy, what's the things that give you joy? Well, for me, it was surfing. Yeah. So I had been a surfer in my 20s, given up my surfboard. I went and bought a surfboard in my 40s. I mean, I'm never going to be an amazing surfer, but goddamn, I have a great time and I love getting out there, So totally. Get some parts that, what is it that really, And for me, I paint. I'm a portrait painter, and I hadn't painted for many years. And it was terrifying going can I still do it? And I did it, and my first few paintings were a bit wonky, but then I found my joy with that again as well. So it's just that sort of having different aspects to you. It's not all work.
Yeah, it's so important.
Yeah.
Where do you think you got that mindset from, or is it something that's evolved over time for you?
Yeah, it's evolved. It was a training. The mindfulness kicked it off, and I recognised that it was more healthy for me to practice being more present, slowing down. It affects your whole kind of health and well-being really when you kind of come into a more gentle space with your connection to your environment and your body, your soul, your heart.
Totally. Yeah, no, that rings true.
Yeah.
We were talking last episode about someone I follow. You'll probably know him, Naval.
Oh yeah,
Ravikant.
Yeah.
And he talks about setting time where you don't let your brain take a thought.
Totally.
So like for the next 5 hours, any thought I get about work or whatever it is, I'm gonna just like throw it away.
Definitely, like meditation, for example, is really I'm not the greatest meditator in the world, but I think there's different ways to be meditative in the way that you think. For example, being
like surfing, right?
Yeah,
Surfing's
it's a meditative,
forces
it's actional.
Forces you to be present.
Painting, my goodness, I just like go into a different headspace. It's a meditative kind of practice. So which forces you to kind of being back in the present. It's so powerful. The future is not real. The past is just your memories.
Yeah.
This is what we have right in the second, right now.
Yeah, that's so important. So many of us are not living like that.
And I'm not saying I do that all the time, but I really aspire to. And I know that when I'm there gazing at the beauty of our world, whether it's in nature, and I'm really present seeing that, my gosh, what an amazing world we live in, like
we're so lucky.
We are so lucky. We're a crazy rock in the middle of the galaxy. So, seeing what's right in front of us right now is really, really powerful. So
What was it that what was the decision, or what led to you making the decision to start I Love Pies?
So I had been on my OE, and I am a food scientist by trade. I'd worked and developed many different food products, but I have a passion. I've got a very creative side and a business side as well. And I was always like working with the marketing people going, I've got some ideas and thoughts on branding and things, but I wasn't really, I was very much in the sciencey part of my discipline. So I thought, gosh, I'd really love to start something myself. I'd seen so many cool, interesting products on my travels, so I came home with the soul and focus and attention of I want to create something. And I think I'd had a kind of an entrepreneurial spirit from when I was really little. I can remember, like I was trying to make money from a really young age. Like I think back, I was, doing random things. Like I made these like the Christmas table settings.
Yes.
That looking back were probably hideous nightmares, like holly that I'd picked, but there was a Christmas shop and I sold them as tables.
Oh wow!
And I was about 8.
Oh,
I had so many little, I was working in a bakery from like when I was 12. Like I was very focused on trying to generate wealth from a very early age. So and create things as well, not just money, but I love building things, and I love being creative, so I sort of leaned into those two parts of my personality. So,
do you think your entrepreneurial spirit came from your parents and the way you were brought up, or is it your own?
Yeah, it's so funny. So my parents, my sister's an entrepreneur as well. My parents are the most beautiful, holistic, wonderful people. And they just are like, they never cared about our grades. They just were like, I'd always be like, Mum, I got an A on this. And they're like, awesome. Like they did not push us. And they just look at my sister and myself and go, what is this? Who are these tornado children? Like, because that's not kind of who they are. But they love it. But it's not necessarily from that. But I almost feel that enhanced us because it allowed us to be exactly who we were in such a loving environment. We're free to explore and so
what a beautiful gift.
They kind of probably allowed for like, I don't know, in a sense, low expectations? Because like expectations is basically what ruins everyone's day.
Totally, it's so true. I really wanted to impress them.
Yeah.
So I was always thrilled when I say, look, I did well in this thing or whatever, you know. So it was sort of, they were always so delighted. It was really sweet. So yeah.
What learnings did you take from I Love Pies and use in you creating your new adventure?
Oh, everything. I would never be dreaming of creating a clean tech company. I mean, if you think about it, I went from like pies, you know, we can all imagine how to make a pie within reason, to robots and insect farming and high tech. It's quite polar opposite.
Yeah.
So the skills and the layers of business acumen that I developed when I had through I Love Pies gave me the confidence to do what I'm doing now, which is pretty big, to be fair, you know. There's not a map for what I'm doing, which is uncharted new territory. And yeah, it's given me a huge sense of confidence, belief in myself that I can do it. And I think because I am truly loving it as well, it's like a, you know, it's a joy.
Cool. So what do you think have been some of the key actions that you've taken to get this company up and going?
So I have really built my written abilities. A lot of what we've been doing is getting grants.
Right.
So it sort of snowballed that, you know, I managed to convince some co-founders to come on this interesting journey with me, and it was literally a little bit like let's give it a whirl, because I'd actually developed a pet food product.
Yes.
That was my first initial foray into the alternative protein world, and it came from a personal state of need where I was feeding my cat and I thought, yuck, those pouches are really disgusting and gross.
Yeah.
Surely someone else wants something sustainable.
Yeah.
And so I fully developed the product and branding and all the rest of it, because that's what I love to do and I'm really good at it. And then actually I was importing this alternative protein, and it turned out to be really a few doors kept on closing on. It was a bit harder than I had imagined, and it ended up that to manufacture the product, it's really high-tech equipment. There's only about 2 manufacturers in New Zealand. They were fully at capacity from other brands. I was a little unknown person. Yeah. They weren't really wanting to commit to my probably really small volume, which is fair enough. So I was on the side going, oh, well, why don't we grow the insect protein ourselves? And then it started off me getting one grant, then another, then another, then another. And it just was like this. It was like the pet food product sort of, for whatever reason, kind of didn't flow. But this other one just was like, and it just kept on growing to the point where we had we have a $3.54 million grant from the government. Whoa. Which is really quite a hard thing to do.
Yeah.
But we worked very hard for that and did really great science, and a lot of work's gone into getting that grant. So
the majority of the 3 years has been R&D and
developing,
grants.
Getting knowledge of how to do this, getting the right equipment, your feedstocks, knowing how to grow this insect, also setting up customers. We've got a major customer that already wants to buy the protein, which is not bad considering we haven't even started. So that's kind of fun. So it's been quite.
And are there all those grants non-dilutionary?
Yeah.
Oh, that's nice.
Yeah.
That's cool.
That's pretty lucky. Yeah.
That's a really great way to go about it.
Yeah, but obviously it's 47% of the project with that grant, so I'm actually now capital raising for 4 million, which is not an insignificant amount in the New Zealand environment and also our current, what's happening in the world. So
nice.
So I've had to learn hard and fast about the whole world of venture capital.
So how do you do that?
Is this your first
my first venture capital
raise?
And in I Love Pies we had 2 people come into the business, And, it was just individuals buying. So I have been involved in, capital raising, but in it's not venture.
Different
So
scale.
venture is entirely different. It's, does anybody know it's such a different world? And we've been very lucky that we have connected with an amazing person called Lachlan Nixon from Motion Capital, and early on I connected with him and we went through an accelerator, Creative HQ in Wellington, and that was such a blessing because they helped us and nurtured a whole group of us who are in clean tech to go through and understand more about what this world looks like and kind of help with pitching, for example. So last week I was selected to be one of the Icehouse Ventures, 8 companies to stand up on the Spark Arena and speak to 1,000 people. So there's no way in hell that if I hadn't done that accelerator, I would be feeling comfortable about that. So that was a real gift, and now he is our lead investor. So that's fantastic, and so we're talking to lots of people, and I'm hoping to close around in the next couple months.
Nice.
That's super exciting.
Yeah, and get going and making impact and helping reduce emissions and using food waste in a much better way and making nice products for our animals. So the insect protein's really amazing for helping animals like cats and dogs just thrive. It's got so many layers to it of beautiful, unique health benefits. So
that's cool.
Yeah, it's a very special place to be in. Plus, reducing emissions because you're using food waste in a more in a more meaningful way and reducing emissions there. So it's kind of got this multi-layered, multifaceted aspect to this business. So
so the lessons you learnt with I Love Pies in terms of the balance and looking after yourself and, having your boat with its areas and that kind of thing. How have you, brought this on with what you're currently doing?
Yeah, it's everything. I'm so present with this business. It's definitely I kind of feel not unattached to it, but of course I'll be sad if I can't pull it off. But I've had such a beautiful 3 years of connecting with amazing people, enjoying the work, that I don't feel any reduction. You know what I mean? It's given me so much already, that I feel like I can continue to be fueled by it. Does that answer your question? I think I went off piece there.
No, it's all good. It's all good. It's about that balance, right?
I think I've learned how to be in balance with my life, whether it's getting good nutrition, exercising, having time with friends. I practice that now, and so I feel balanced in what I'm doing. I mean, obviously, we haven't turned on the manufacturing plant. Give me a call.
When that's going.
When I've got some staff.
That'll be fun.
Yeah.
So you're going to do all the manufacturing yourself, that's the plan?
Yeah.
Well, that's a fun challenge. That'll be really cool.
Yeah.
I started off in manufacturing originally.
Oh, nice.
Before I got into tech.
Cool.
Jewellery manufacturing. So I was a trained goldsmith before I moved
on into amazing.
Moved into tech and then investing.
Very cool. Very cool.
I resonates with me about basically you were talking about being disattached from the outcome almost. Yeah. Because as an entrepreneur, obviously, so much of your life and your identity is tied to whatever you're working on, especially when it's your first thing, I think, typically, because you're very focused on making sure the outcome is good. But I always recommend a book, Thinking in Bets, by Annie Duke, which talks about how you can make good decisions but have not great outcomes. Yeah. So, and that's helped me personally, like disassociate outcomes from decisions. And then that makes life a bit easier. And especially as an investor, when you're allocating capital, you can make a great investment but have a poor outcome. So yeah, that's helped me. And I haven't got the other stuff so well honed in terms of mindfulness and being present.
Oh, I recommend it.
I hack being present by surfing and jiu-jitsu.
So
that's how I hack it, is by doing something. I have actually practice meditation as well.
Yeah.
But I wouldn't say I'm good at it or make it a habit. You know, you got to make things, you got to be consistent and
Yeah,
disciplined, is what you
don't have to
said.
be
Make
quite
it a part of your schedule, right?
Yes.
So jiu-jitsu is quite good because it's fun. You know, like
Yeah, you want something that's fun.
if it's fun, it's easier to keep going, right? So I kind of hacked it with that. And surfing as well, but surfing's so weather dependent. It's like so hard. You're like, okay, I'm pumped to go to.
There's that new surf park that's opening out at Silverdale on the next.
That's cool because then you know
And
you've got some guarantees.
Yeah, it doesn't matter the weather.
Yeah.
That's going to be fun, I think. So yeah.
Especially when you're a noob at surfing, right? You don't know how to read the reports. Although our friend is building a product that's helping with that, a more reliable forecasting tool specifically for beginner to intermediate surfers.
Yeah, cool.
So that's quite a cool product. So they're building that out, which is fun.
Check that out.
Yeah, I'll let you know after about their product. He's been building it on his own. It's pretty cool.
Wow, very cool.
Yeah.
So we were talking a bit earlier around kind of there maybe not being as many women as we want in that entrepreneurial space and investing and that kind of thing. What's your journey been like from that perspective, do you think?
Being a female and involved in starting a business.
Yeah.
My business partner and I always used to say I think people underestimated us, maybe, which I think ended up being a bit of a superpower.
Yes.
Because actually there's times in business that you have to be very, make some tough calls and be decisive, and we have that. We both had that innately in our skill set. So maybe that was quite good for the element of surprise.
Right.
But I've seen I see that as a power, you know, especially if you're the only female in a room sometimes. Yeah, so I think the question was being a female in business.
Yes.
No, I don't think I've had any kind of experiences. I feel like, you know, I've been compromised or anything, but I think you can use it to your advantage as well.
Totally.
Yeah. And I think females have a really unique perspective on business, and we have a lot to give, and I think there's some stats around that which I can't bring to mind, but in terms of, like, you know, the success that happens through female leadership in businesses is pretty impressive.
So if you know, you were talking to someone who was starting out, they think they're going to start their own company or business, what is some advice that you would give them?
Get a great financial person on your team. I think that's really something that my sister actually taught me. It's you know, if you can't be everything in a business, and maybe you are really, really astute with your financial acumen, but having that's a powerhouse for a business. Do not underestimate how important that role is.
Yep.
And it's not someone doing your end of year accounts. No. It's your commercial.
It's forecasts and assumptions.
Oh yeah,
all
someone
forecasts are wrong,
and that can provide you as the entrepreneur or the leader with your ability to see and navigate. It's imperative. Other advice, which is just do it, just give it a go. You just don't know what, you know. I think like there's, you know, like if you don't try and jump on the train's going to go past. It's going to leave you, right? Just try it. And I love that saying. You'll always be a success because you've tried, in my eyes. Maybe it doesn't work out. Well, so what? You've had an amazing experience if you learnt something about yourself, and you know, don't die wondering.
Yeah, that's it. That fear of failure, right?
Yeah, and I think that's like, maybe that's another part of me getting a bit older. You know, I think what's stopping probably other people doing what I'm doing, maybe it's that thinking, oh, what if I fail? Well, I have a different viewpoint. I'm like, if I fail, so what? I've tried.
Yeah.
Is anybody going to really judge me for if I can't pull this off? No.
Yeah.
They'll be like, awesome, you tried to do something different, and it was brave and courageous. So, and that's how I feel about other people. So, and if someone wants to judge me differently, that's their energy, not mine.
And it's life is more kind of fulfilling if you take accountability in things.
Yeah.
Right. So like by just trying and giving it an honest try, you get a lot out of that.
Totally.
Like that's the kind of, and you probably think about it when you think back to I Love Pies, is obviously those moments were what made the whole thing. You know, it's like these hard things that kind of force evolution on yourself.
Definitely. The growth.
Yeah, painful. Like
Yes.
growing pains.
Out of suffering comes
Yeah.
grace.
Yeah, that's a good one.
Yeah, that's a quote.
Yes.
Oh,
That's a tweet. That's a tweet. You should, maybe you don't like tweeting. You should tweet. You're raising venture capital. You need to tweet. Clearly.
I'm LinkedIning. That's my platform. I've chosen my
That's the current thing.
That is my
LinkedIn.
thing.
LinkedIn is such a powerful tool,
LinkedIn's
isn't it?
powerful, man. So
Yeah.
I have done a lot of work kind of promoting myself at the moment, and I enjoy doing, marketing and branding and things as well. And it's been quite amazing. I've had this like international attention from kind of, this industry. So that's quite fun.
Yeah.
I'm doing something right in terms of the way that I'm framing it up and the conversations that I'm bringing to this new alternative protein market. So I feel proud about that.
Well, you have to do so much storytelling as a deep tech founder.
Oh, definitely. You have to bring a lot of people with you. So,
Yeah. I'm really excited about the manufacturing part.
yeah, I
don't
am
know
too.
why.
I am
I just
too.
think
I've got some, yeah.
Very fun.
Yeah,
like-
definitely. We've got a great team around us, and
It's like playing with Lego.
totally. Like we've got some really cool equipment that's going to be coming in. So, yeah.
So
And one of my business partners, he's an amazing engineer. So, how fun! And he's run lots of different teams and manufacturing environments. So, yeah.
When you're doing something, so because what I've predominantly worked on is low on the atoms, high on the bits.
Yeah.
Bits are in so many ways so much easier to navigate and deal with. Like, I guess the fundraising the whole thing becomes so much harder in a sense potentially to forecast.
Yeah.
But also like to kind of get going. Right, it's not like you can just stand up a little website and.
No, I mean I think back to Pies, my
Yeah.
business partner and I, amazing wahine called Marie Glading, who I dearly love. Both her and I, we put in $1,000 each for our first company, and most of that was spent on buying a really shitty van that would drive us out to the farmers market.
How did you get a van for under $2,000? That was ridiculous.
We hustle. I mean,
That was
that was
good.
quite a long time ago. The van was a bit shit as well, so we called it shit van actually.
No.
But yeah, it was. I think back. Wow, that is very different to starting a $7.5 million capital investing.
Yeah.
So that's your first round, but you've done some grants. Then the first raise is
The
basically
total project, $7.5
investment
million
so far.
to get us
To get us to
the
where?
next stage.
And what is that next stage?
So the next stage is a commercial demonstration model, which allows us to make protein in an amount that we're able to sell it to customers in a meaningful way.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Awesome.
So that's what I'm doing.
Yeah, it's so exciting. Last question.
Yes.
What was the best piece of advice someone gave you?
Do it. No.
Really?
You have to
Who
edit that out.
would quote that?
That was from actually Vend. My
Oh,
husband
yeah.
used to work for Vend, and on the side of the
Yes.
on the side of the wall they had in bright neon, just do it. I think that's really good.
That's it.
And they had another one on the wall about shipping as well, which is
Yeah.
really important, right? Like getting it to the next stage and
Yeah.
putting yourself out there, because you can spend a lot of time not launching. You spent a lot of time in stealth, and like you said, you recently kind of unveiled what it is, the whole thing, and that's like a big moment, right? And you don't want to wait too long on that.
No.
Although some projects require it.
Yeah.
And I would say that yours definitely is in that camp.
Well, we were like, is this happening? And then the grant came, and we were like, yep, we're doing this.
Nice.
To go.
So yeah.
How long did the grant take?
Oh, good part of a year and a half. Yeah, it was intensive. It was very, very hard, but it should be. It's a lot of money.
Yeah.
They're very, very careful in how they give a grant out like this. So a huge amount of work was done, and I'm very blessed. One of my oldest, dearest, best friends is an engineer specialised in the waste minimisation area. So bless her, she helped us get that first grant. So Nadine Wakeham, amazing female, and shout out to her, because I
Nice.
definitely wouldn't have.
So you kind of did it internally with your
Yeah.
and you pulled your resources of.
I did. I'm very good. I'm
friends
very, very good
yeah.
at bringing people who are amazing to help me. I don't consider myself to be the it's a team of people surrounding me on this journey, and I'm by no means whilst I'm in the leadership role, this is very much a collaboration of a huge amount of energy from a lot of talented people.
So potentially the most impactful part you play is actually your ability to like bring people on the journey.
Yeah, it's a really important, I'm good at sifting through and going, that person's amazing. They're a good person, they work well, they're a good communicator, and I'm good at analysing for that. I will own that.
Nice.
And that's important when you're building teams, right? And our values for Good Grub, we have a no value, and I will...
We have the same thing almost.
Oh, yeah.
But it's copied from the All Blacks thing, right? Spearhead's not...
Oh, nice.
My co-founder came up with that one.
Yeah,
that wasn't actually my idea. My contribution to our values and such is probably a little bit more boring. Live to train another day. See, that's not as inspiring as like no dickheads.
Everyone gets it, right?
Yeah, totally.
We've all dealt with dickheads.
Yeah.
Well, you can choose not to actually if you're careful and considered about it.
True.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, thank you for coming on and chatting and telling us your story. It's really interesting and inspiring.
Yes. Glad you think so.
Yeah, it'd be really interesting to see, or to catch up in like 6 months and see.
Yeah.
What's she done? Did she get the money?
No,
Did she fail?
I don't care about the money.
No.
We just want to visit when you're in the mix of the manufacturing
When you are literally
part.
seeing me up to my ass.
Yeah, that is where we want to catch up. Part 2.
Yeah.